I wanted to talk about No Man's Sky, and I'm going to approach it as at a different perspective. I want to get into very briefly the critical reception of it, but there's a different subject I want to talk about. So I have right here the Metacritic pulled up, which is, you judge games based how you are. This is the easiest way to culminate reviews, and you can read them individually, right? Obviously, take Metacritic with a grain of salt. You should do your own research for yourself. So I was looking through the Metacritic. It has 3 90s and then a bunch of 70s. So 3 90s are from Time Magazine, IGN Spain, and PlayStation Lifestyle. PlayStation Lifestyle, kind of weird. Obviously, it's published by Sony. I wouldn't really trust that interview personally. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I went to the No Man's Sky page, and it was published in part by Sony Interactive.
That's like stupid for them to have the PlayStation blog and PlayStation Lifestyle. Once again, Sony. So,
anyways, a lot of the majority of the reviews are in the 70s. Obviously, there's some lowballs by Jimquisition and some other places I've never heard of. I've heard of Jimquisition, but I mean the other places like Gamer.no, don't know what that is. But yeah, so it's not getting it's sitting at a 70 right now on Metacritic, and there's a lot of in progress reviews. The thing I want to talk about really is, did PlayStation ruin No Man's Sky? And the reason I say that is, so once I found out it was being published by Sony, that kind of drew a red flag for me. No Man's Sky to me seems like I haven't personally bought it, but I've watched and experienced about a good 5 hours of this game, just because I wanted to get an idea of what exactly was going on from beginning to later on in the game, right? Different aspects. This game seems, I really wish they would have marketed it as Minecraft in space. The thing that got lost on a lot of people is people expected this to be an Uncharted or a Dark Souls in the sense of, and hear me out, it's a game that's already complete upon release, right? It's a game that is, everything is already there once you buy the game. That's not what this game is. This game is a Minecraft. This game is an Overwatch. This game is a game that gets better with its updates. Yeah,
it is what you make it, kind of thing.
And it's also a platform. Like, this game will be better a year from now than it is today. Yeah. That's how the game is. And I think the price point is largely a problem as well. Minecraft launched at $20, and I hate to compare it to Minecraft because Minecraft is unlike any other game, obviously by its sales, but it's what the closest relative I can see to this game. And this game being released at $60 is kind of crazy to me. Of everything
I think if this game was $40, it would be would be going batshit for this thing. I would bought it already.
We don't know exactly who decided on the price point, but I think Sony being involved in this game had a lot to do with it being a $60 game.
But see, if that was the case, I don't understand why they didn't add members to that team at Hello Games and help them make it bigger, build out the team.
I think it's one of those things where they wanted to be a part of it, but they didn't want to muddy the waters. They were like, oh, you guys have a good thing going, we don't want to screw it up. I really think PlayStation, or Sony rather, really hurt this game. And I think it's because this game launched at $60, and I think it's because it was marketed all wrong. I really think if this game was marketed as a Minecraft in space, put some kind of twist on that, let people know it's a platform that you're going to be building on, I think it would have resonated a lot more with people. This game being between the $20 to $40 price range, this game isn't very deep. Even the procedurally generated planets aren't too different from one another. The creatures are... So, when you think about, procedurally generating creatures, you think you're going to have a lot of cool experiences. And for every really cool, T-Rex looking thing or, weird beaver cow thing, there's these things that just don't make sense and kind of pull you out of the experience. I understand that aliens will look weird, but these are, there was a thing I saw where it was, its head looked like an orange. It was literally an orange that looked like it had googly eyes on it. And if you...
Sure you weren't watching some Bloodborne footage?
And it kind of pulls you out of it, because the whole thing's about exploring the game and kind of figuring things out. And the game, there isn't a lot to the game. It's very, very shallow. And
that's what I was going to say, is it seems kind of thin for me to spend $60
and that's the problem, is I don't think that's a negative in terms of the game being, if it was going to be released at what it should have been. This game being released as a $60 game that marketed wrong, that's why it's wrong in all those points. If this was a $35 game that you marketed as a platform, I would be 100% okay with how the game is. People would have been way more 100% okay with that day one patch that people are complaining about, because it's it's a platform. Obviously, it's going to have a day one patch that fixes things. I've just been rambling. What do you guys think? Do you think that Sony messed this up? Do you think it should have been marketed different? Do you think it should have a different price point?
So the marketing, you're definitely right on. Because I mean, it might not be totally all their fault or Sony's fault, but this thing got overmarketed, overhyped, and it just wasn't going to live up to what people wanted. But as far as the price point, this is one of those tricky spots, because if you think about what Minecraft is and how many hours people have put into Minecraft, that should be like $100 game.
Exactly.
Right? Obviously, if it were a $60 game, it never would have seen remotely the success that it did, because that's what gets people in the door, is that cheap price point. But when you actually look at what it is and the scope of it and what you can do, what you can make it, its value is way more than $20, and that's what they're going for with No Man's Sky. But they're like us, missing those people getting through the door initially. But here's that price point. So
here's the thing to that though. So I bought Minecraft very early on, when it was like in super early beta, when you could do jack all, and I got it for $15 because at that point Mojang was like, we usually sell for $20, $15 to get in the door. That game is 100%, 200%, 300% different than what it was when I first played it. That game and its scope and everything you've been able to do in that game, a lot of people look at the game like, you can't do much. That game is a lot more deep than people give it credit for, and there's a lot you can do with that game. Yeah. And the modding community has taken over that game completely. But like, day one Minecraft is way different than the Minecraft we have now that's sold millions of copies. And it's because it knew it was a platform, and it's like, we're going to need to get people in right away, And
So here's a question for you guys then. Because this game was made by 15 people?
Yeah.
About
15, something like that.
Yeah, it's like less than 4 gigabytes in size. So the question is, should the price of a game scale with the development cost necessarily? Because when you look at the size of that studio, size of the game, I don't know. I don't know how many hours they put into the salary they pay their employees, but I got to think that the development costs for this game are smaller than a Dark Souls 3 or a AAA experience. So should that scale?
I would say,
the price point. I don't know what the answer is.
I don't think so. I think it has to do with the game itself.
To some extent, I was just going to say, to some extent, yes. I think, just like you said, there's no way there was this much budget, as much budget as a AAA Dark Souls or whatever. There's no way. And so, maybe the price should be a little bit lower. Maybe it's like, I think when everyone saw how small the install size was, they were like, wow, this is just a bunch of copy and pasted, procedurally generated worlds that probably are just like palette swaps.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's $60. Yeah,
exactly. There's nothing wrong with that when it's 40 or 20. But when it's 60, that's a big deal.
The thing that rubs me the wrong way is I think so. If this game was way more deep, then they would have known $60 was fine. I think the fact that they wanted to sell this at 60, that's why they took the marketing spin they did, because they couldn't put this game at 60 and market it as the platform we're talking about, because then people would kind of be weary. Even if they are being truthful with the marketing, people are kind of turned off with the platform games, the quote unquote, because it is technically like an early access game. You're getting in at the grassroots and then it's updating, right? This isn't even going into the fact that it has a game breaking bug. Have you guys heard about this? So if you pre-order the game, you got a ship, okay? The ship has a hyperdrive. There is a section in the game at the beginning of the game where you learn how to build a hyperdrive for your ship, so you can go to other galaxies, right? If you get the pre-order ship and you exchange it for your basic ship you start off with before you even learn how to build a hyperdrive, the moment you trade that ship in and you get a new ship, you'll never know how to build a hyperdrive the rest of the game. So it breaks the game and you have to start from scratch.
They screwed up.
Wow. Yeah. That's pretty fucked. I also think the way you were talking about it just a second ago, Jared, you were saying it essentially needs to be as deep as an RPG for what they were saying in the $60 price point, and I totally agree. To answer your earlier question, I think Sony totally did ruin No Man's Sky because they made us feel like we were getting a deep and a deep well of an RPG that you could really sink into this large galaxy. And that's not what it is. If this game would have not been on Sony's front stage and like been pushed by them, and it would have just come out, it's like, oh, have you seen this indie game that's coming out called No Man's Sky? And it would have been the Whisper game. Right. And they could have probably changed the price point because they're going to independently be publishing the game, so like they can make those decisions on their own, right? And get a lot of feedback from people. Like, it's so strange how this game would have turned out if Sony didn't grasp a hold of it. Which I'm not saying Sony's the only person at fault. I am very worried that the same thing's happening with Cuphead and Microsoft. I'm very worried that Microsoft may be hurting
playing Cuphead. I think it may be ruined, so.
I think it's more obvious what Cuphead is, though, that it's a smaller title. And I think that if Sony had never come along, I do not believe that Hello Games would have ever charged $60 for this game.
Any closing thoughts, Tom?
So they wouldn't have charged $60 because Sony was probably fronting a huge part of their budget, right? I mean, like a huge, like the game probably wouldn't have existed.
Would have been like 1.2 gigabytes.
Yeah, the game wouldn't have existed without Sony publishing it. So.
I don't think so. Sony came in like halfway through development, didn't they?
Yeah.
Well, at least it wouldn't. Yeah, it wouldn't exist at the same scope that it is. I think.
What scope is that?
Sure.
Well, yeah, even less than it is.
Yeah. But they could have sold it for cheaper. They could have released it probably sooner, and they could have done the platform thing. It's so weird. Obviously, it's like hindsight 50-50 or 20-20. I don't know why I said 50-50. Yeah, so that's pretty much
some damn good vision,
right? It's pretty much it for No Man's Sky talk.